All right, so we have moved 3 character frames over to our stage, and so far this is what our animation looks like. Starting to show him pop out, right? And so I'm just working between these 2 keyframes. But I also have these little action lines. So now, before I do too many more, I want to understand how to make this work better. So I'm going to not have them exactly on top of each other each frame. Instead, I'm going to rotate each one a little bit. And by doing that, it's going to look frame to frame like it's shaking as it comes out. In fact, even before anything comes out, I might show the rock jiggle a little bit. Now this is the big benefit of digital animating, is I can get perfect copies of every layer. So if I take this rock and I just make a duplicate of it, I get a copy of layer 1, and then I just transform it a little bit. And then I make a copy of that, and I push it back. And I make a copy of that, and I push it forward and maybe move it down a little. So these are all the subtleties in between. And you can use your arrow keys as well. And this one, I think I want that to rock back a little bit more. Now our eye picks up on movement very keenly. And now I can bring over the next frame. And save your progress as you go. So now I've got the claws out. Next I want to open the pincher. Right? And then bring out the far claw. And the head with the jaw. But maybe I want the jaw closed first. And because I didn't do a duplicate of the jaw, what I did is I moved it where I wanted it, and then I copied it. Now it's on the clipboard, and now I will paste it in and move it into place. And I will call that a closed jaw, or jaw closed. So this is how you can animate different features that go back and forth on your creature, like the pincher opening, the jaw opening and closing. Because then we just turn those different layers on and off in our puppet to get what we want. Trim a little bit of that belly flesh. Okay, and then I think I also want to change the back leg. Have that stretch out a little bit more. Hold down Option, merge all those visible layers together, select all, copy it, move it over, go to the top, paste it in, and place it. And then maybe transform it a little bit more. All right, so it goes from that now to this. Oops, sorry. From that now to this. So that completes my first 3 frames. And how many actual animated frames did it get to show that movement? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let me save it there. And once you have your first kind of 3 frames and all the animations you think you need between them kind of roughed in like this, I want you to test your animation. So we're going to use the timeline. And I'm going to make frames from layers. I'm going to move that background layer to the trash. I am going to turn on this background layer for all of them. Not sure why that's not working. There we go. Turn it on for all of them. And then I'm going to get rid of the background plate layer. So here we have our animation starting, where it kind of pops out of this rock. Let me set the timing, and I'm going to try 0.2 seconds. See how it works. Yeah, that makes some good sense. All right, now, let's see if I can add some believability to this with some other assets. So, beyond my creature assets, I also have the shadows. Right? I have this overlay shadow. So I'm going to copy this. All, copy, move this over on top of everything, paste it in, set it to overlay mode, and see if that helps. And how do I get that to play in my animation? For each layer, I have to select it, and I have to actually set that layer to be an overlay layer in each frame. And that's what's kind of cool about adjustment layers, or blending styles on layers, is you can apply them separately to each frame. And we'll talk a little bit later about layer styles. So that puts a shadow underneath. That makes it a little bit more believable. Okay. And if I just leave that there and keep remembering to turn it on for every frame, as I build this, it will work. Now what I'm noticing is the rock shakes a little bit, but then here it starts to shrink to fit in more on. So I'm going to go back frame by frame, and I can adjust as long as I select that layer. I can make little adjustments to help it out. And this is in-betweening, working with each frame. So let's see how that works. Good. Now for now, I want this one where he really pops out completely. I want that to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to make that 0.5 seconds. And then he's going to start walking. So that's the next thing I do. So I save this, and because I've just done a test animation and I don't want to screw any of what I have up, I'm going to select all of these, take them to the trash, and close my timeline so I don't get confused. And now I'm going to work with new assets. Okay? Now here's the key to walking. I'm going to take my creature asset right here, move him up above everything, and I'm going to create a new set. Whoops, don't want new layers. A new group which are assets of my creature walking. And I'm going to build these in a different way, just so you can see it. So I'm going to call it creature walk. And it starts with just not the creature separated out with the puppet assets, though that is handy. Say I might use that. So let's see. But the easiest way to animate your creature just in a movement is using what's called puppet warp. So I'm on a layer that has my whole creature in it, right? And what I'm going to do is select that layer and say edit puppet warp. And instead of the regular warp tool, which just gives you kind of 9 sections to warp, this, based on the shape of your creature or whatever is in that layer, whether it's a tree or a cloud or whatever, it will make a polygon wireframe. For puppet warp to work, you have to pin the joints, you know, where things are expected to move, like the neck. And then you have to also pin the end of each object. And it's tough when the objects are connected, like the horn and the head here. That's going to make it a little bit difficult. I don't want to pin anything in the rock because I don't want this rock to move at all. And once you have pinned the joints, you can then warp it. So, I can move the pincer that way. And you see how it will move everything a little bit. If I pin the bottom of the leg, then I can move the leg. Ooh, look. This top jaw, or not top jaw, but this top pincer, I can move that. And his head, I can kind of move, but it will stretch as it goes. If I lock a few more pins, then it will work. So what I do is I try to figure out where I want the pins to be. This seems pretty good. I don't like how his horn warps, but he'll be small. And then I make a screen grab of it using Command-Shift-4. So I have a little image reference for where all the pins will be, because I want to match that each time I animate him. Okay, now I hit return, and I can see that difference. I'm just hitting Command-Z to go back and forth. So yeah, that looks pretty believable. I'm not going to do that warp there because that makes that look like macaroni. So you want to use this sparingly. And to get the ultimate effect, I want to actually separate out the claw from the horn. So let me see. So I want to go to before I made the puppet warp. I want to make a duplicate, and on that duplicate, I want to first, with my eraser, make kind of a clear cutout. I'm going to cut into the horn just to separate these two so they're not locked together. I'm just going to shave the horn down. Maybe a little bit more so they really move separately from each other and don't overlap. Okay, so now I'm going to puppet warp it, but I did that screen grab. I want that kind of open in the corner here so I can see where the joints are. And sometimes if I'm doing long animation, I'll actually use the preview tools and I'll annotate with red ovals where the joints are so I can see them more clearly. I can even make them a little thicker. So I need a joint there, I need a joint here, I need a joint here, I need a joint here, I need a joint here. It looks onerous, but it will give you much more consistent movement. Okay. Good. So